Hello everyone. Assalamu alaikum. I hope you had good time weekend and enjoyed your time. Okay, let me find the latest document. Still have 2 minutes. This document now is too big. It's 92 slides. I kept everything in one document so you later can just go through that document, hopefully. We'll wait for a few minutes. يا صباح النور ابو خالد، عليك سلمك. Okay, Bismillah. Welcome everyone. So we'll share screen. Last time we had a good session, I think. We went through maybe this screen here, this screen there, so we can. So just do quick revision on session 2 last time we had. So we discussed the use of the scanner class, if you remember, for those who maybe did not come or those who missed it, didn't understand it well. So we'll do just quick revision. Mute your microphone if you're not speaking, please. And if you didn't hear me, just let me know. As we said before, use the Q&A for your question, the chat for your comments, raise your hand when you need to speak, and this is the way it works. So last time what we did, we discussed the scanner class and we look at some examples of how to use the scanner class. We work on how to understand the loops and we focus on the for loop and how we can use it. We looked at the arrays and how we can use the array to store data. So this was a quick discussion about the scanner class. To do the scanner, you need to import scanner using import java.utility. Then we create an object. We call it scanner or call it anything, SM, whatever you want to call it. And this is the syntax to create the object. Once you have the object, you can use it to read data. And these are the different ways to read data. You can read integer by using next int. So if you call the object S, you say s.next n. If you call it m scanner, you need to do that dot next int. Next int will read integer, double will read double, line will read the text, next only without anything will read a word, and boolean will next boolean will read true or false to do. And then you close it. We looked at the arithmetic operations, how you do calculation. We're familiar with plus, minus, multiply, divide, but there's something called modules here. We'll take the remainder of the data and we explain it. If you're dividing 15 by 4, then the closest to this one is 3, because 3 will give you 12. If you use 4, it will give you 16. That's not right. So 3, the 3 will give you 12. 15 minus 12, the remainder is 3, or the remaining value is 3. So the answer for something like this, 15 percentage 4, will give you 3. Okay, and then we spoke about the process of programming. You need to know the inputs, you need to know the output, and then you create a process in between to generate the output using the input. This is like mathematics to do, and we had some examples. We need to answer the 3 questions. Here's an example. Said if you want to calculate the remaining balance after expenses from a given monthly income. You're getting 10,000 as income, you're spending 6,000, how much remaining? It's a basic mathematical calculation. So the input will be your amount of money, it will be how much you're spending. These are the input to the system. The output will be the calculation of that. And the way you declare the input is like double income, double expenses, because we're using salary that has fractions to do, and then you do the calculation to do that and display the result. And here is another example, and we have many examples for you. Then we spoke about the loops, and we said in Java there are 3 loops: for, while, and do while. And the for loop is when you know how many times you want to repeat something, then use for. If you repeat things until something happens, use do while or while to do. And we looked at that, and here is an example of the for loop, and the structure of the for loop starts by the word for, and if is lowercase, then initial value, which you need to say starting from 1 or 0 or minus 10 or minus 100, and then you have a semicolon and a condition here. This loop will continue while I is less than 5. Please mute your microphone if you don't mind. And then another semicolon, and then you increment. Here we're incrementing by 1. We have seen how to increment by 2, 3, 4, by adding formula here, and then you display the result. And we took some examples, like a Java code that calculates the total cost of grocery after adding the price of individual item. There are 10, and we looked at that example. And then there are other examples we can look at it. Then we moved into the array. We said array is very good because with one variable, you can store large number of data. So if you want to create an array in Java, you need to start by the data type. Is it integer or double or float? So you say int, then you come with a variable, like here, grade. And this square bracket means this is an array. And then equal, and then you put the value of the array. You can put it this way, or you can ask the user to input the data and use scanner to take the data and store it in the array. That will be looking at it more today. So this is an array of object. The array has 2 things. Index is the location. So 95 is in location 0. It starts by location 0. That's important. And 45 is in location 1, 70 in 2, and so on. But the actual value is 95, 45, 70 at the right location. And if we want to print the first element, we can say grade between brackets 0. That means first element. The value will be 95 in that case. If you print the fifth element, which at location 4, that will display 80. If you print the one at location 2, which is the third element, it will display 70 for us. And this is the way it works. And we did some practice on that, and we have some exercise. So today we are ready to move to the next step in this. And let's see what we will do today. Let's look at sorting array. Now we have the array, we need to sort it from ascending or descending to do. And to sort array, you need to import your from the library something called Java utility arrays. This is similar to the scanner we imported. So if you say java.utility arrays, this will allow you to use a function or a method called sort to do. And this is important. If you do not import it, the sort method will not work because it will not be in your library. So we import it using import Java utility arrays. And then here, this is the array we have now. It's an array of integer that starts by 5, 2, 3, 4. If you want to sort it, how you do that? This is the way to do it. Use the keyword arrays keyword dot sort x. Once you do this, once you run this line arrays dot sort x, then the data will be sorted in ascending order. Now, how this will happen? Array, this line require this import, as we said. So after you run this line, you get your data sorted this way. They become 1, 2, 3, 4. X values will change to be the new sorted values. So it will become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. And then this is the loop, the other method of using for loop. If you're dealing with arrays, you can do this instead of using the traditional for, let's say int I equal 0 while I less than the length of the array plus 1, 1. This is another one. Those who are coming from Python, we will see it's somehow familiar to them. We're going to do it as well when we go to Python. Basically, you need to declare what type of counter you're using or array using here. It is integer because we know our array is integer. So int x1. X1 is now a new variable we're going to use. And then this is like in Python. Means what it says here, go through the array from the first element until the end of the element. This is what that line says. Every time, call the current element that you're dealing with x1. So integer x1, this is n x. X is what is x? X, the new sorted data, which actually the x there. And x means also this one. These are all the same. And x is this one. So x now, after sorting it, all the x's we have on the screen, they have the same value, which is the sorted data, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so this x means the whole array. This x1 means the first element, the second element, the third element, the fourth element, and so on to do. Okay, so now when we do this, we do for int x colon, not semicolon, colon, x now means we're saying go through this array, these values. Don't go to the previous one because the previous one is gone from memory. It's being sorted and the new one we have now. So go through this new one and go through them one by one. So in the first time you run the loop, your x1 will be 1. So it will print 1. Second time you go through the loop, your x1 will be 2, the value of it. And then it will print 2. Second time the loop goes in, x1 will be the value is 3. And it will print 3, and so on. This is how it works. I hope this animation made it nicer, clearer for you. So we know now how to sort the data. We'll practice all these things. Yeah. Let's look at how we find the minimum value and the maximum value. It's a very simple. Once you sort the data, your first element, which at location, yes, 0. The first element as location 0 is the minimum. And the element at the end, which the length minus 1, will be the maximum value. So you need first to sort the data. Second thing, you need to go take the first element. This is the minimum. The last element will be will be your maximum. This is the simplest way to do it, but we can use if statement and do a loop and do lots of things, but you don't need to do it because this is more efficient to do. Now let's look at an example here. We have this array, we have 5, 2, 3, 4. If I want to get the minimum, will be the first element, x0, because the one at 0 is the minimum. After sorting it, after it's sorted, 1 will be the first and will be the minimum value, because I have here sorting it. As we said, x will change now to the new array, which sorted array. So x0 will give me the first one. If I want the last one, will be I need to look at the length of that array, take 1 from it, that will be my location. Because as we said, because you're starting by 0, the last index will be the length minus 1. We had this discussion last time. So this will give you me the maximum, because I'll find the location x length. If I have, say, 10 elements, this will be 10. X length is 10. Minus 1 will take the location number 9. And location number 9 is the last one, because location 10 is not, there's no location. Index 9 will be the last one, but index 10, there is no index 10, because we're starting by 0. You count from 0 to 9, you get 10. Not from 0 to 10. 0 to 10 is 11 to do. And this is why we need to say minus 1. We'll do practice on that. Okay. Now, let's look at, are there any questions? Anyone has a questions here? I'm just looking at the questions here. I tried to find these slides. Yeah, these slides been sent by email. Ivy sent it by email to everyone. There's a link. You click on it, it's live slide. You should have it, but Ivy will resend it again to everyone. Maybe some of you joined later and they are not in Ivy database. Ivy, please update the database with the latest list, or do something with this. I'm sure you will do that. Okay, that was one of the questions. Let me go to the hands up, and we have Stephen. Hello, Stephen.
Yeah, so in the previous simple function that we did, how does it know when to increase itself?
Yeah, here you don't need in the new method yeah, let me go back here. Yeah, in this method, there is no need to increase it. By default, move to the next value. This one works well with array or something called array list. It doesn't work with normal numbers to deal. So if your data store in an array, this will work for you. And the way it works, it increased automatic. Every time the loop goes in, it moves to the next element, automatic. There's no need. If you wanted to jump by 2, this will not work for you. You need to use the other traditional for loop that allow you to move by 2. This allow you to move 1 by 1. That's how it works in Java. In Python, there are ways you can do it to move to the next, to jump. Okay.
And we have to make it also like the colon and x. That means inside of x.
Sorry, which one you?
After
Can
x1.
you? After x1, yes, you need
Colon
colon,
x.
yes. Yeah, colon x, yeah. This
And
x
that means
refers to
inside
the
x.
whole. Yeah, it should be inside, yeah. Should be inside this bracket, you should have these 3 components. The data type, and then a variable that you'll use for every element in the array. And then the colon that tells you in this list. And then X, which the whole array. So if I call this one Y, I can keep this need to be Y. This can be anything I can with it. But this one must be the same name as the array name. This I can call it M, Y, X, anything. It's up to me to decide. But it means this one use it to store the current element that you're dealing with. First time you run the loop, you're dealing with the first element. Second time, it will do second. So that's how it need to be. This is the structure of this for loop. You still can use the traditional loop if you want in this one. If you put traditional loop, it will work. And we'll look at that one in the example. Was
Oh,
that clear, Stephen? Did I answer your question?
yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Blake. Okay, then I have Khadija.
Yes, so in the other one, when for the array visit, like when you sort it, is
Yeah,
it sorted from the least to the most one?
yes. The default sort will take the value in ascending order from the smaller one to the larger one. That's the way. Once you have it sorted, you can reverse it if you want. You can have another loop and you reverse it and make it become in the other order, which we will do this one later. But the default as it will sort it just in ascending order or from smaller to larger.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Hor or yes, go ahead. I can't hear you, or maybe your mic.
Sir,
Oh,
I wanted to ask that what does the length mean in the maximum code?
very good. Okay, what do you think the length is? Let me go back here.
Yes, sir, here in the
Yeah,
max code.
very good. This is very good question. If your array is X, if you use X dot length, it will tell you how many elements in that array. That's the length of it. So in this case, we have 10 elements here. X dot length will give us 10. If your array is M, so you can use M dot length, will give you how long that array. This is a very easy way to find the length of your array. If you don't use this one, you need to have a loop to go through them one by one until the last one, and then you can. No, here just by using X dot length will tell you how many elements here. If there is 1000, whatever the number is, just using X dot length will tell you the length of that array. That's basically the length of the array. And if you want to take the last one is the length of the array minus 1. We explained this one before because we start by 0. So always, if you want the last one, take the length of the array, take one from it, and find what value is stored in that location. That's how the length work. Okay? Is it clear?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you. So let's move on, and then we'll come back to more questions. I will come back. Okay. So and I think your questions will be clear. Now let's look at now changing the value in an element. Assume I want to change, I have this array, okay? But I want to change the first element for instead of being whatever value to a new value. How I can change the first? I want to change this element number 6, for example, to a new value. How I can change it? Can I change the value of the array after I created the array? That's the question. So we'll be looking at this one. Now, assume we want to change the first element to become 50. The value become 50 of the first element instead of whatever value is there. So how we can do that? The way you do it, you will need to say your array name, open bracket and close bracket. The question is what value I should put here to say this is the first element. Should I put 1, 2, 3, 0, first element at 0 location. So this should be 0. So if I say x, open bracket, close bracket, 0 in between, now I'm talking about the first element. Now what value I need to put in the first element? I will use equal. Then now I put the value. This one will be 50 because now I'm changing the first element. How I know it's the first element? Because it's at location 0 and changing it to 50 and then semicolon. So this line has changed the first element from whatever value it was to a new value called 50, which we'll look at that one in a minute. Then let's take this one now. To change the value of the third element to 30. Now, third element, where the third element is, can you put in the chat, what do you think should be the number here for the third element? Yeah, correct, 2. The third element are 2. Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you, Khadija. Thank you, Khalfan. All of you are correct. So the number here will be 2 because the third element is at the location 2 because 0 at the first one, 2 so, and then equal, and then 30. So this way we can change the value of an array element after the array being created. Okay. Okay, let's now not jump to the method. Let's work on practicing this. Then we'll get into the methods. Okay, so we can see how this one works, because always when you look at things how they work better than you just look at theory, because we'll make some mistakes and things, so we can see how things will work and see when things will not work properly. The only thing I hate in my, okay, I managed to move Teams from here because it disturbed me on the screen. Okay, so we are in our Rebel, and let's create a new one, Java, working with arrays. Okay, let's get into some fun. And make this one goes there, and as usual, and let's do this. And let's come here. Now let's come with an array. This time we'll say make it double. Okay, double will say salary. Okay, equal, and we need either we have these 2 brackets here, or I can have them here. So both will work. Okay, and this brace, and then we'll put the value. So someone is salary is 10,000. 76. Someone is 20,000. Give me some ideas. Okay, what is this? Give me some values. So, okay. So first, let's practice this something called length. Okay. So system.out.print ln, and we'll say length. Okay, and here we can say plus salary.length. See this line? Now, if I do this one, this will give me the length of the array. Okay, so it tell me the length, length, the length is 5. Now, if I add another element here and make it something like this one, now run it, you can see the element became 6. So dot length give us the length. Yeah, remember it's just dot length without open bracket, close bracket. Yeah, this you should not use because it's not a method. It is a property or a field. This is something we'll talk about later. But that's how it works. Okay, I missed the bracket here, and then now it's working fine. Okay, so that's first the length. Now, if I want to display those elements, let's use the new for, let's say S here, colon. What should I write here? Is actually salary. Okay, and print. So this is a loop now. that goes, I need to say here double. If I don't do double, it will not work. So now I'm declaring a variable called S, which I will use to go through the array, and every time I find an element, I display it. So this will work this way, and we do that. It's something, so there's an extra bracket being added here, I think. This is the extra bracket. We don't need that, yeah. Now we're fine. And let's clear this one so we can get better screen. So these are our salary, so doing that. Now, if I want to add the sum of this salary, the total, I can come with here something called double sum. Yeah, double sum. Let's move it just to look, become like this. And as I said, sum we should need to start by 0. So here we can see sum equals sum plus. Now where should I display the sum? I should display the sum at the end, not inside the loop. As we said last time, remember? We said last time if you print the sum inside the loop, print ln sum, that's it. Now, this block now, what it does, it simply take the elements, assume there is something called sum, give it 0 at the beginning, go through the loop, every time print the value, and take that value and add it to the sum. So the sum increment by that value. And then we finish the loop, we print the sum. So now this will do that. So we have the data and we have the sum of the data, which displayed here to do. And there's something called a round. We can round it later. Let's not do that now. Now, assume after I printed the sum, I wanted to change the value, this 10,000, something to something else. I want to change this value, or let's say this value, yeah, from this number to another salary. So this guy got a promotion, okay? So how I can change element in that place? So I can say salary, which is the name of the array, salary, open bracket, close bracket, equal, okay? And then I need here to put a number. So I want to change the second one, will be 1, you are right. And then I'll get value, say this guy promoted and he's getting now 20,000. No fraction. So this person's salary now is 20,000. Now, if I want to see how much the total became now, and I want to display the data that shows the 20,000, how I can do that? I need to repeat those lines here. And this is why now I'll be talking to you about something called functions or method, that instead of repeating these 2 lines, now I will repeat these 2 lines and do that. Why? Because these lines, which we have here, will actually calculate the total. So let's run now this one. See? And we have, now we don't need to say double again because we already declared it. We just need to run. This is good error we had. So look at the data. This is the previous data. We have 10,000 something, 20,000 something, and then the rest. Total became 215,666, 60, okay? Now, when we change this value, which number 1 to 25, the new data became 1,000. The first one did not change. The second one, which was 20,000, became now 25,000 to do. And the total had changed. So I can change any element after being created by going to that element index, finding where is it's located. Is it the second, third, fourth? And then change that value by saying the array, the element location or index, then equal the new value. So this way we change that one. Let's say I want to display now the minimum. So we can say system. Let's do it differently. So let's create a variable called minimum. okay? And another variable, call it maximum, max, okay? These are two variables, okay? Now, what I can do, I say minimum. What is the minimum? Is the first element. What is the maximum? Is the last element. How I know the last element? I need to know the length. Then from the length, I need to take one. So I say salary dot length minus 1. Now this one is referring to the last element because it just took the location of the last element, which this is the location of the last element. The length of the array minus 1, this location. And this one, by finding this number, what it is the number, then we'll find the last element. And I can say now, system will print minimum, will also print maximum to do. And now if we run it, I'm getting now the previous array, the change one, and I'm finding the sum of the change one, the minimum and the maximum. See, my code became longer. I need now to start thinking how I can make my code more organized. And here we will talk about the methods. But before I do that, I can see there is a hand up, and let me answer that hand. Pranav, please. I think maybe your hand was before, but ask your
Yes,
question.
sir. I have a doubt. Can you use negative indexing in Java, like in Python?
Yes, yeah, you can.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other question? Anyone else has a question? I can see in the Q&A. What do we mean by double S salary in the loop? Very good. This is a good question. Thank you for asking it. When you say double S, we means declare a new variable, call it S of type double, and this variable, we will use it to go through the elements one by one. So first time that S will be the first value. Second time S will be the second value. We have to declare it double. Why? Because our array contains data of type double. If I don't do double, it will now say, what is the data type? See those errors coming. If you run it, you will see something here saying bad initialized for the loop. So this is not good. You need to say, if I say int instead of double, it will lose some data because the data are really double, has fractions. So int will not work, and because salary is also double, so no. The right thing has to be double. So whatever is your data type of the array, the same one you need to use here. This one has to be the same one. And then you come with anything. I called it S here. Let me call it M. I need just to change in my code this one and call it M now. It doesn't make any difference whatever you call it. But I use S because salary S becomes okay to deal, just for becoming more convenient, more easy to do. Okay, that's the one. In Java, each array can only store one data type, correct? Yeah, but that should be one data type. What do we do when you want to create an array maintaining multiple data types? You can build multiple arrays at the same time. For example, if we looked at student grade, I can have one array storing the student names or ID or whatever as a string, and another parallel array to that one storing the student code. And that's the way it works. Now, Java is not meant for data analytics and things like Python, which optimize for data analytics and allow you to mix data, the thing like that. And this is why it is more restricted on having one data type. But you can do this by creating multiple arrays, parallel array to the data. There's something called JSON. If you later look at it, if you create a JSON data type, then in JSON data type, you can create multiple type of data, and it can work like dictionary in Python, which we will come to dictionary, inshallah, will be there. Now let's get our code more organized, yeah? So let's go into the functions, okay? Let's go back here. So what are those methods or functions in Java? And why do we need them? I think you know one question, one answer, is that we need to make our code organized, because long code, all of them in one place, becomes messy, become difficult, not messy, become messy, and becomes difficult to read, okay, and difficult to maintain. And that's become complicated. So when we use method, we can make group the code into groups, and each method will be responsible of performing only one thing. And we can call that method multiple times to do. If those who did Python, maybe you used the method as well through diff and things like that. But again, we will repeat it here. So it's a block of code that we can use multiple times. The block of code has three main components. One is, does it receive some data? Does it require data to run? And this is what we call it parameters. If it requires parameters, we will not be able to use it unless we provide those parameters to it. Okay? If you provide parameters, it will work. If you do not provide parameters, it will not accept it, will not work, because it needs those parameters. But there are methods that do not require parameters. Okay? Not all of them. Then once you get the parameter, it does its process through one line, two lines, how many lines, it depends on that method and how that method is complicated. So it execute that one. One after it execute, it may return value. I use the word here may, yeah? Why? Because not every method will return the value. Then how we can benefit from it if it's not going to return to us something? The answer is that some method can directly display the data on the screen. Some of it will send it back to the caller or calling location or method. Okay, we'll see this in more example. So it has those three things. Does it require parameters? Of course, it should have some process. Otherwise, there is no need for that method. And then after it does the process, will it display the data on screen or store it somewhere in the memory, or it will return data back to the calling method? And that's something. Let's have an example here. So this is a method we created. This is not the main method. This is our own method, which we created, which we will create it in practice. This, our main method now, has number of components. As you can see, it has public, it has static. Any method that you create in the main file of Java, the main file of Java, must be static. Yeah. But later we will know when we create other files like student, grade, work, it doesn't have to be static. Here has to be static because we ensure it will not be, no other one will be created the same name. So public static, yeah? And then this part here is the data that it will return. So let's go through my animation. So public static is the first two things that must be there. If it is in the main file, yeah, And if it's not in the main file, maybe public you need, or private or protected, and static will not be needed. Okay. So now what are the components? The first component of this array is this part between the bracket. This part is the parameters we will do. Now, by looking at this int square bracket, open, close x, what do you think this parameter n is? Can you write in the chat, what do you think is this parameter? Int open bracket, is this a single value or array? It's array. So this is an array of integer x value. This is the right answer. This is an array of x. So this method takes as parameters, call them parameters, an array of data, a list of data. Take them and they come to it. Now what it will do with it, this will create the sum of the data. So in this case, what it will do, it will create, as we did before, a variable called sum, give it value 0, and then create a loop that goes m now the elements, nx. So this x much this x, yeah. If I call this one z, I call it here z. Call it salary, call it salary. M is in my hand. I can call it whatever I want to call it. So this will go through this loop, and every time it takes the element M and add it to the sum. I'm using different notation here, which instead of sum equals sum plus, I'm using plus equal, this same thing to do. Once it complete the loop, do until find the total sum, it use a keyword called here return. Okay. So see, return sum. And return sum should be the same data type as int, because I called it int here. If I want the sum to be double, I should say here double. Okay, so this data type. Now return, what does it mean? Does it mean send back to the calling method the total of the sum today? And this is one thing to do. Okay, let's look at if we, this is the body. I think we're done with the body. Now let's look at this example. Write a Java function that takes two numbers as parameters, calculates and return the sum. How we can do this? Let's do this and then we'll come back to our array. So let's go back. Where is our here? Let me just share this one with you in case you need to have it in the chat. It's very simple, but sharing is always good. Okay, let's create a new one now. I create a new variable and call it methods. This project will call it methods. Let's play with this method. Now let's clear everything so we become more focused. Now, as you can see, we have, this is our code. So we have our main class. In the main class, we have a main method and thing. So we need to create now a new method that receive two parameters, add them together, and send the result. Okay. So where should we create it? This is the question I have here. Should I create it here outside? Should I create it here inside? Should I create it here? Should I create it here? Where should I create it? Okay. Now it should be created, I don't know why I'm doing this, should be created parallel to the main method. Main should not be after this one. There's nothing should be after, and should be here. It should not be created inside the method. Okay, so we'll come here and create it then. Public static, we will say int in this case. Okay, we'll call it total. That's the name of the method. Okay. Okay. This is the method. Now, I needed to receive two parameters. What are the two parameters? I will put them here. Both of them are integers, so I int A, comma, int B. Now this method, don't do this please to me. This method is name total. It receives two parameters A and B, and it return integer value. Okay. Now, what should be in the body? In the body, we can come with something called int sum or total or whatever equal A plus B. Sorry, sum A plus B. This is sum, and then the word return. This is how it will work. Now, so this method now what it does, let's make it look maybe shorter so you can see it. So a method is now receiving A and B as parameter. Both of them are integer. By the way, do not have to be same data type. One can be integer, one can be double, one can be string, one can be, the method can, not like the array, can receive multiple data types as parameters. So it can be so many data types. Oh, we do. And then we will have declare something called sum, we add it and display. Now, if I run the code, will I get anything on the screen? Let's not, let's run it as it is now. Nothing will come on the screen. So what, I did all this work and nothing on the coming on the screen. Why? Because I didn't display any result on the screen. Okay, so I come here in the main function and say system dot out dot println, and let's say here total, okay, and between bracket 4 and 6. This is the number we all know. Now, if I do this, I'll get the total. Now, how this works? Because basically, I call the method, this method, to use it in the main function, you need to call it. The way you call it is just use the name of the method, which is the same. Then you provide data for the two parameters. I provided 4 and 6 at the parameter. And by doing this one, I run the code, I'll get 10. Okay, I'll get 10 on the screen. Okay, we can add something to make it looks better. Say total equal this plus total. Okay, and instead of just getting 10 that looks ugly on the screen, we'll get total equal, but T should be uppercase. Always keep improving. Now, how this work? So we created the function. What we did now, we called that function here by using the name of it. We provided the data. Now, if I want to run this function again, what I need to do, I can come, let's copy this line just and add it here, and assume now we're going to add the values 50 and 45 and run. Now I'll get the thing. Now I don't need to write this one again every time. I just need to call it. So let's do another one, third one. Okay, what do you want it to be? Minus 20 plus 60. Okay. Every time I want to calculate any two numbers from now on, the only thing I need is just to call that method, and it will do the work for me to do. Okay? See? So the method now, we created it outside the main function, And I can create so many methods here. Now we did this one that does the total. We'll do another one to do the average of the two numbers as well, which we can also do. Let's do it in a second, but let's now look at what we have. So we created a method, and anytime I need it, I call it. So assume this method is too long, I don't need to write it every time. I write it only once. Then I can call it as much as I want to do, to call it, to do. Yes, so the method are different from for loop. I can see some discussion here. I like that, and thank you for answering this thing, Stephen and others. The method is different from for loop, and the for loop, this line of code. Here, you grouping code together, and you give it one name, like you're creating your own command in the programming language. We came with a new command called total. This is not there in Java. We created this one called total. You create your own command by giving it a name, deciding is it public or private or protected. So far, we're dealing with the main class, has to be public. And then static means it's in the main class, cannot be duplicated. And then you decide what data it will return. Let's create another method that does not return a value, okay? And so far we have one return the value. What the difference between if we do one that return or one that doesn't return? And let's do this. Let me delete these two calls so I can make this one more clean for you. So this is the current one we have, which we have a method. We're calling it, it will call and. Let's create a method that does not return a value. This one return a value of type integer. How we do that? Let's come with this one, public static. Okay, we'll call it average. Average. Now, if it doesn't return, you need to use the word void here instead of end. Word void means it doesn't return. We'll call it average. And let's say again, it takes two parameters, A and B. Okay. Or let's make this one take three parameters, A, B, and C. Let's make it take three parameters so we can come with something nicer. So this method calculate the average. Okay. So because it doesn't return, I use void. Okay. That's one thing. I use void. Void means don't return any value. But how it will do, I need to display the result. Let's calculate the average. We'll call the average double, yeah, because usually there's fraction in the average, isn't it? Okay, so double, and we'll call it AVG, for example, will be equal, this is the average. And then because I need to display the result, because it doesn't return the value, I need to have inside it somewhere system out println. Because if I don't have this one, the method will run, but nothing will happen. Okay. Now we created this other method. Now, how can we call this new method? If I run my code again, I will get my total. The average will not come on the screen. Although I have system out println and have one here. Why it didn't come? Because I didn't call it. This is like you have an employee, you employed in your company, and he's very happy, but you didn't give him any work to do. And he's sitting there and doing nothing to do. You didn't give him any work to do. Give it work by calling it, okay? So how we call it? We can call it here, because it doesn't return, we just can call it directly. So what we can say, average, this is average, and we'll pass to it the data 6, 8, 4. So by doing this, semicolon at the end, now this is calling the average. This is calling the average. So if I run this nice code, it will first do this line. When it gets to this line, it will find there's something called total. It will jump to the total, calculate the total, the sum, and return this sum as a value and display it on the screen. When it gets here, it finds there's something called average. It will with 684. So it will jump to the average, pass to it 684, calculate the average, display the average on the screen, and then stop. So let's run this code now and see what will come. So that's it. See, it directly find for me the average of the three numbers and display it on the screen. So how this one did work? We started from have this one calling the total, and then it goes total. Then when it gets here, find there is a, as soon as it find the bracket and close bracket, they'll think this is a method. So there is a method called total, require 4 and 6. It jump to total, A become 4, B become 6, come here 4 plus 6, store it in sum, return it back. The return go back to the same line it started in. So it comes here, so this place will become 10 as a value. And then it comes on the screen here as 10. Now, when we call the average, it will go to the average here. It requires 684. The A will become 6, the B become 8, the C become 4. Add them together, divide them by 3, and display the result. Now, I can call another average now if I want. I can say average has to be the right spelling, yeah? And let's say 7, 9, 12, semicolon. So this again, if I run this one, I will get two average coming on the screen. The beauty of the method, you do it once, you call it as much you want. So you just prepare it, and anytime you need it, you do that to do. Okay, so I can call it multiple times. Now, can we have a method that does not require any parameters? Yes, we can have a method that doesn't require any parameters. But in this case, it's not the best in the main class, but we'll do it in the other classes. That sometimes you need a method to display the name of a person. We'll do it. If we can do it today, we'll do it tomorrow, inshallah, to show you how that works. But I think I would prefer to do it today. We'll see. Now we have seen the method, how they work. Okay? Questions. I need to see some questions about the method, because the methods, I have to say, one of the confusing thing. My experienced student always get confused about this method for some time, and then becomes clear after they ask questions. So ask me as much as questions you have about the method before I move to the next level. Stephen.
Yeah, I've got a few questions about the methods.
Tell
So,
me.
about the names, does it have to be like specific names?
Yes, that's a very good thing. There's no specific name, but there's something called naming conventions, and there are some rules you have to follow. The naming conventions is a gentleman agreement between programmers that if you name any method, you should name it with a lowercase first letter. So I'm not following that one. So it should be T lowercase to do. I didn't do that because I want to get it clear. So have to be lowercase, but it doesn't make difference in the coding. The code will work, but this is a way you name it. That's a naming convention. Okay. The second thing, if the method has more than one single word, so the first one has to be lowercase. The second word should be uppercase, but there should be no space in between. Okay. For example, if I want to call this method total of values, so total of salary. Okay, so how I write it? I say total lowercase, then of uppercase, then salary is uppercase. I have to name it this way. But this again doesn't have any issue with the code. The code will run even I put them all lowercase or all uppercase or call them anything. But this is for programmers. They agree the way to name it. So if anyone look at your code, he or she will expect the spelling without even seeing the method itself, because that's the naming convention. That's one thing. The other thing, the rules should have no space in between. So I cannot say total space of or thing like that. It doesn't work because it will get confused. It should have no space in. Should not start by a number. Should not say 1, 2, 3, 4 thing like that. So these are some of the rules that you have to follow. The third one, I have to say, it has to be meaningful. I should not use a name for a method that it's out of context. It doesn't make any sense. So if I'm dealing with, for example, student grade or GPA calculation, I should name it calculate GPA or call it something that people will relate to instead of coming with anything. Okay? The other questions, Stephen? You said you have multiple questions. Do you still have questions?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Does it work the same way for main string arguments, or that just stays like that?
Yeah, if it is in the main class, if it's in the main class, has to be and that's, I'm sorry, I'm not answering maybe your question. This one, you're talking about this one, yeah? Yeah, Stephen, are you talking about this one?
Main. Yeah. The one
Yeah,
before it. The main word before it.
the main word, yeah. The
This
main,
main.
yeah, for the main method, which the one that must be there, has to be named. You cannot call it, has to be main. You cannot call it anything else. It has to be main. Now, in your code, there should be a method that the gate to your program, the gate to your program, or the door that get into your program to open is the main method. And the main method must be like this, exactly. Public static void main. You cannot call it another name. You call it other name, it will not work, because when you run the code, the compiler or the interpreter will look for where is the main method. Look for it. If it's not there, it will not run. So it must be main. Any other method custom you create yourself, you call it whatever you want to call it. But the main must be the main. You cannot come with another name for the main. That's the way they created Java. C language, the same thing, and C++ has a main method. Other questions? You are the only one asking today, Stephen. Ask more, please, if you.
Oh, yeah, I still have one more I have more. Well, I think one more for now. And the average function. Can we
Yes,
make it somehow more flexible? Like, can we make it flexible? Like, it accepts as many inputs as we put, and then it'll find the average instead of just
yes,
divide by
that's
3.
good. That's good. The way to make it flexible is to store the data in an array, and that array you change it to become bigger, smaller, whatever to do, and pass it as an array. That's the way you make it flexible to calculate anything. And let's do that. Let's create another method. We call it, let's come here. Let's create a new one. So every time create a new one, there is some learning goes there. Let me just copy this for some people who maybe need it. Then we'll create another one with an array, and then we'll make this flexibility looking for. Okay, so let's come here and create a new one. And say methods and arrays. I'll call it like that. And I'm not consistent, but that's fine. Okay, let's come here and let's now create an array. Now, this brings us to something important. We'll talk about it later. I think I remember it now. Let's create an array of integers. Integer. Let's do it this way. Call it, what do you call it? Again, salary. No problem. Okay, so this one. Okay. Now, let's create a method here to calculate the average. So public static, okay, will retain the average as double, yeah, and we'll call it average, and here we need to pass to it the salary as the one, okay, and then we'll do the sum. This is a good help. So added the sum, basically create sum, adding those elements together, and then calculating the average and returning it. Okay, I'll just do bracket here. I'll explain this code more because it needs some explanation. So this is a method now, accept that one. If I want to print the average, I'll say system dot out dot println. Still remembering this total average, and here we call it average, and we're passing salary to it. So what's happening in this code? Let me minimize and make everything clear here. So we have a main method. Of course, we have a main method. We have an array of elements here that are integer elements called salary. And then we created a method here that called average, which will return double, which is the average, and receives the array from here. Go through the array, create something called sum zero, go through the array and add every element. Once it has all the elements, take that sum and divide it by the number of elements, because we have in the array whatever element. This one will be dynamic, depends on the length of that array. And this goes back to the calling method and display the result. So if you run this one, we're getting this is the average. Now, if I come and add another element here, say this number, add, and run my code, now it will calculate the average for that number. So as much as the number of elements I have here, this became more of a dynamic to do. Put that one like this. Okay, anyway. So it's a dynamic way. It depends on the length of your array. If you shrink it or increase it, now we added all this together and we run, it will still add them together because it basically take it as an array, send it to the method as an array, and then in the method you go through whatever process and come with the sum and return it back. Now, one question I hope one of you will ask me, you notice the array has one issue. If you want to add additional element to the array, after you created it, it's challenging. It doesn't allow you. So there's something else called array list, which we will talk about it hopefully today or tomorrow. The array list is a more dynamic than the array. Array is somehow you can change, but I change it from the code. But if I change it from the program running the code is different thing. We'll come to that. This is one weakness of the array. It doesn't expand easily like the array list. And anyway, now what you understand now, we have an array, we pass the whole array as a parameter, regardless of the size of the array, it will calculate and find me the average. Yes, Stephen, you done? Or
Yeah, I
is
still have
what
another
this?
question.
Yeah, then good. Ask that question, then I'll go to the others. Yeah, go ahead.
Can we use the scanner system in order to ask people to put
Yes,
their numbers and then we
yes, we
average it?
can. Absolutely, yes, we can. We can do the scanner and get the user to enter the average, and then we average them whatever, and enter them one by one and average them. We'll do an exercise on this one, hopefully today, or I'll give you an exercise, you
How
explore it
can we
yourself.
make
Tell me, huh?
how can we make it like accept as many inputs as the user puts, like not to a limit?
Yeah, that's the weakness with the array. The array, you need to decide from the beginning how big it is, and then you fill those elements locations. If you want to expand it, you need to create a new one bigger than that one, move the old one inside it, and then expand it. But later I'll explain the array list, which very simple. You just use a method called add, and you add any elements. If you want to remove, you say remove, and you remove any elements. That's the array list. But I'll come to it. Let's stay with this one now until we come. I'll show you how you do the array list later. Okay, let me move to someone else,
Oh,
and then I'll come back to you. Mahnur,
Yeah, hi sir. I wanted to ask, why is some of the code in a different bracket than the rest?
which code you?
Like the public, like the average is in a different bracket and then the return is in a different bracket.
the you're talking about the bracket, or you're talking about the color of the word?
No, like they're all, and some of them isn't in the main and then the rest is in another bracket. Like they're all under
Oh,
different.
okay, yeah, okay, very good.
Yeah, this
Uh,
one.
yeah, okay. So I explained this before, but let me explain it again. Now, let me do this and let me make it maybe clear. Okay, let's delete this one from here. Okay. Now, when you start your first program, you will have only something called the main method. Okay. Okay. This is the main method. It will be just only this one. This starts from here, ends here, with this bracket here and bracket here. Okay. You do things here. Now, if your code expand and become too long, it will be difficult to have it all in the main method. So you take part of it and put it outside, like this one here. The one you put outside has some conditions. I put things outside and I call them method, like I create some call average here. Why I do? First, I need to make my code looks more organized. This is my main, and this other thing. The other thing, this thing can be used multiple times. Like, for example, I used this to calculate the average of these numbers. If I have another number array, okay, with different values, I can pass it to the same method again, like I did before when we calculated average of three numbers, and we provided three numbers. Then we provided the different three numbers and different three numbers, because every time I need to run it, I call this call method function. So anything that you need to use multiple times, you will need put it outside the main method. This we call it a custom method. Custom means we created it. So this custom method has to be outside the main method to do. I think you missed some classes. This is why you're getting little confused. Maybe is this your second day or
No, I came. I just didn't understand the part.
okay? I will repeat this multiple times in different examples, and you will understand it better.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. So we have done that. Another thing. Okay. One with this one. Okay. Let me look at just the questions. I can see some questions. Please mute your microphone if you're not speaking. Please mute your microphone if you are not speaking. Thank you. Okay, I'm reading just the questions. In Java, each array can only store one data type. What do I think I answered that one. I tried to find this slide. I think we answered that one. Looking at the question, is that because the method is only going to be repeated once? What that question is about. Are you able to put an array in an array? Yes, you can put an array in array, correct. You can put an array in array. You also, there is called two multi-dimensional array to do. In this one, in this training, we give you the getting you started, because this run in a full semester course. And there's so many things you will do in more you'll do, but the concept is the same. If you understand how to use an array, then you will be able to understand, hopefully later, easily how to have an array inside an array, or have multi-dimensional array. These things become easier for you later. Okay. But now we learn good things today. We learned the method, but I think let's do one more thing. I'm writing them this. Okay, let's do. Let's look at the inputting data from keyboard. This Stephen had these good questions. And let's create another project. I like creating as much as, but I think some of you maybe had some issues with that. Let's do an array that through the user's input we can populate the array, and then we'll see the issue with the array, what the weaknesses in the array, and how we can overcome these weaknesses in the array, which are very important subject for us to do. So let's create an array now and call it X. Okay. Now, if you want to create 5 elements of X, okay. Or you do 5, you do 3. Yeah. Yeah. So let's do that, and let's come here. We'll use just array, not array list. I just want to get you. Let me get to this example here, which I created for you before, and we'll do. Okay. So let's have an array. Just let's do the normal array which we have, and we'll put 3 elements, just only 3 elements, so we can do that. Okay. So let's do it first this way, and then I'll show you. Or make them even 0, all of them 0. So this is an array with 3 elements, 0, 0. Now I want to ask the user to enter the value for each one. So I need to import what? Import what? Scanner. Very good. Thank you. And let's create an object of this nice scanner. Scanner. Okay. We'll call it S. I like S. Equal new scanner. Okay. And then now let's ask the user. We'll say system enter the first. Let's do a loop. Yeah. Let's do a loop. Let's do a loop. So for x and sorry, for is it integer? Yeah, integer. And x we're using this way, but later maybe you can say x1, call it, so we can distinguish between the two. Okay, so this array, I'll ask the user multiple times to enter values. So we'll say here system dot out dot print n, okay, enter a number, okay, semicolon, and we will keep it, and then we'll do this one. So, okay. Now I'm using this way
Sir,
to do.
third number is 9.
Sorry? 9, it can be anything.
We have the third number as 9.
Make it 0. It can be any number because we're going to replace it through this loop. Yeah, but I don't want to use this loop because this is very simple. I want to complicate it for you because I want you to understand how it works. So we'll use the traditional way of using the for loop. Okay, so this is the traditional way. So this is the loop. So we'll say enter a number. Now, if I want to store the value entered into the location I, then I need to say xi, this one, okay? Now, if I run the code, everything will be fine, hopefully. Let's minimize this one. Let's run this one and see. Now, it will ask me to enter the first number. I say 12, second number 66, and then 8. Now, it took the numbers, but did nothing with this number. So it just took those numbers and did something with it, okay? And store it in the memory. Now, if I want to display the average of these numbers, I have number of options. One, I can do this in the main method, or I can create a method outside called average. Let me do one outside. So public static and double will call it. Let's call it sum this time. So we'll make end and call it total, lowercase. And what we will take here is end x. Yeah. This is the so we're receiving it now. So total, okay, that's fine. Now we'll do the total of this. This is the total, and we're returning the total. Okay. So this is the method outside which will calculate the total. I can come here and say system out print. We will say here total, and call it total anything, plus we're calling total. Good? Okay, that's it. So now, when the user enter the data, let's do this. Let's say the 2, 2, 2. So total 6. So what happened now? When we started the code in the main function, we created an array with this length, and then we asked the user to enter the values for it, and every time the user enter the value, we store it in that location, which I will be 0 at the beginning, will be stored here. I will be 1 second time, will be stored here. I will be 2, will store here. This one will create it. So x now created in the memory of the computer. We send it to this method called total x. So it goes to the method total x, which the method total x take it as an array, create something called sum, go through them one by one, add them together, come with the value for the sum, return it back, it comes back here, and display it on the screen. And that's how it works. Okay. Now, if I want, after this one, I want to change the value of an element, I can have something here nice. So let's say I want to ask the user which element you want to change, which element you want to change. Okay. So let's have a message say system dot out dot println. And let's ask the user which what is the index that you want to change. Index means the location. Yeah. Now if he says 0, it will change the first element. If he says 3, it will change the third element. Okay. Fourth element, and so on. Now let's come with a variable. We'll call it end location. This is new variable we came with it called location. Okay, and this location will simply ask the user to enter this. So when we run this part, it will ask the message which one you want to change. It will get the location, and then the next thing we need to say, we'll say x, the location, okay, so here, equal, no, this is fine. We know the location. Now, the next thing we need to ask him what value you want to change. Okay, so we'll have another message here. I hope I didn't confuse you, but I'll explain it. What value do you want to change it to? Okay, okay, to change at this location. This is a very good thing, but if I explain it clearly, otherwise you'll get confused. Now we now changing the value which x at that location. We need a variable. Okay, x at that location equal. This is okay. This is very good. Now, if you don't understand it, then I will blame myself. I will not blame you. But location to do and location, yeah, should be fine. Now,
Location is spelled wrong.
it's something.
X brackets location.
This one.
No, sir.
Okay,
Location, you have to have a T in between. LOCATION.
Location is wrong spelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Location. Okay. Now it's okay. I don't want more bracket. Okay. Now it's perfect. Good. Thank you for that. Let's clear that. Now let me try to explain it before we run it. Yeah. Because I think some of you confused, and I will not blame you for that. Now we start from beginning so we can refresh. So we have an array with 3 elements. There are nothing in the element. Then we ask, create a scanner, of course, and then we go through a loop asking the user for every element and storing it at that location. So we'll have values in the array replacing 0, 0, 0 with new values to do. Okay, when we call this one total, it will jump into this method we have here. It will use the array which we passed and go through them and calculate the total and return back to us the result. Now here I started asking the user to change the value. So saying, give me the location that you want to change. If it says 0, I'll change the first element, second, okay. This line, 2 lines here, one message asking for the location, and the other one asking allowing the user to enter that location. And now this message about the value at that location we want it to be, okay? So this value. Now value will be stored where? Will be stored in that location, X of that location, and the value will depend on what the user will enter here, okay? Now if I run this one, nothing will happen. Yes, it will run everything, but I will not see the values. Let's create one more method. We'll say display array. Let's do this one. Let's create a method called public static, okay, void. We'll call it void. Why? Because we don't want it to return, I think. And we'll call it display array, okay? And we pass the array to it. So this method, we will use it to display the array. And here is it, okay? This is very good. So far, we are good. So anytime we want to display this array. Okay, let's do one more thing here. After the user enter all the data, we want to display the array. So I'll say here, display bracket X. That's the one they want to display.
So
Display.
the function is display array.
Did I call it properly display array? Display array. There's Y missing here. Okay, that's very good. Now it's right. Okay, display array here. And let me do another display array after this one. Now, those who are following me, they are enjoying it. Others will get little lost, but that's fine. So from beginning, we have an array empty, we fill it with data, then we display it on the screen. Then we display the total. And then we ask the user which element you want to change. He will say second, third, fifth. We change that element and display the data again. Okay, let's see this code, how it will go. Now, it's asking us, say we'll put these elements 88, 99, 20. So these are the 3 elements. So this we did is happening now here. So we are here, we went through 3 times here. Now, if I print enter, it will jump to display data. Display data, it will go down here and run this one, which a loop to display the data. Okay, so let me hit enter. So now it displayed the data, which again, 20, display the data, 88, 99, 20. Then it came to after displaying the data, it went to this line, calculate the total. So it went to the total, which this one here, total, and run its own thing and came with the total and return it back and display the total. Now it's asking me a question. Now it moved. What is the index that you want to change? Question is little stupid, but anyway. We'll change the second element. I'll put 1, index 1, in the second element, okay? Now, it will ask me what value you want to change, and let's make it 100. Now it will display the array again and see how it works now. Now, display the array, which starting by 88, 100, and now see second element instead of being 99 became 100 to do. Okay, and so on. See? Let's make it better a little bit. Let's come in the printing the elements. Let's add here another space, system.out.println, and let's create space here, and leave this is like a space, and maybe we'll do it system as capital. Just I need some space in between because things are okay. Let's clear and run again. Now let's run. So the data is 77. I like those numbers that are, you notice, yeah, 77, 88. Now the only thing, it has a space in between, yeah. Maybe I should add a space after, because I just want mine to look little better, because sometimes you get confused. This is just small things which we do to clear the code and make it look nicer. Okay, clear, okay, something go wrong. Okay, let's run. Okay, so let's enter the data. This time I'll use different thing. Okay, so now we enter the data. It took the data, display them on the screen, have some space before after, told me the total is 102, which is correct. Ask me which index you want to change. Assume now I said I want to change number 2. Where is my screen? 2. Okay, 2, sorry. 2, and I'll make it 200 value. Now the new data displayed like that. Now let's look at an error that can happen. Oh, sorry, stop. Let's do something silly. Let's run this one and do this, do this, do this. Now assume I want to change number 3, index number 3. Do I have index number 3? What's the thing? Do I have index number? No, I don't have. So let's try that one and see what will happen. So assume now we're changing it to 77. I get this error. What this error is saying? Array index out of bounds exception. Okay, because the array has only 3 elements, and I'm trying to change the 4th element, which doesn't exist here, and it gives me an error. So there's something called exception handling. We'll get time, hopefully tomorrow, to go through that one, which you avoid getting some errors. You know, this issue happened on Friday, which made airports panicking, and everyone is getting into that. It could have been addressed by exception handling.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, can you share this code so we can?
Can you repeat, please?
Sir, can you share the code, the link?
Yeah. Okay, I'll share the code. Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Let me do that. Well, remember, just this code, if you change it, it will change for everyone. So don't change it, use it just for only your information. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to do. Now we done that. I want to move into the other type of arrays that we can look at it, called array list. And why I want to go to the array list? Because as we notice now, I wanted to add value. It's calling me. Let me just answer this. No, I'm not going to answer it. Okay, later we'll do that. Where are we? Let's create, let's look at the array list. We notice now the issue now. I want to move additional one. I need to add an additional one. And because the element is already fixed to 3, I'm not going to add 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. I'm limited only to that one. So what else I can use to address this one? There's something similar to array, but called array list. And let's play with the array list for a few seconds, and then we'll be fine. Okay, so I can see some of you are already accessing this code. Let's create a new one, and we'll call it array list. The array list is a very dynamic. It's powerful, I have to say. It's very powerful because it's a very dynamic, but it's need little explanation, and I'll do that explanation for you. Okay, so let's clear everything, and we come here and reduce. Now, For array, you remember we didn't need to import anything. Only we need to import if we want to sort the array. We use import. Okay, that's what. But for array list, we need to import. So we need, it doesn't work until you import java.util.array list. This is the library that we need to import. And it's very important we import it before we do anything. Now, how we declare an array list of integer? In array, we can just say end, open, close bracket, then x, and then we can add some values if we want like that. This is in normal array. But in array list is not the same. Array list, you need first to start by array list, which is the name of the array, and then you need to have less than and decide what data type you need to do. So in this case, I want to store integer. I don't use int, I use integer, I capital INTEGR, and then I call it numbers or call it x. Let's call x because you're familiar with our x. So this is the way you do it. So you need the word array list, less than, and then integer in between, or double, or string, or car, or student, or courses, or days, or whatever, salaries. Or here, that's type, data type you need to do. Okay, and I use student and car because we can create our own data type of student and car, and this will be tomorrow one. So array list, and then the data type, integer, double, float, string, and special type of data type. And then the variable we need to do. And then this is maybe your second time seeing new or first time. New is mean create a new object. You've seen it in the scanner, I know. And then again array list, which the same spelling like this one, between bracket integer, okay, less than and more than, and then brackets at the end. Now this is the array list. Now if I use x add 1 or x add 100, this way I'm now filling the array with the numbers. So simply here you use the word add. You will use word add, you start adding to the array list. And that's how to do it. Let's assume now we'll have, we can do a for loop now, and we can ask the user to enter data until he puts 0, then it will stop. Okay, this is one way we can do. So we can create a for loop, and we go through that until the length of it. So this is array list. Array list has, let me find you here, the methods of array list. Let's go into Copilot. Any of those AI things. Which one should I use? Use this one. This is the official one. Okay, already here. This is very good. Okay, let's look. Okay, what are the methods of array list in Java? Now, I just want to show you those methods. We have seen add and remove. Let's look at the method. So these are the methods we have, and let me go through them. First one is add. And you notice we just use add, and we can add any number. This is not the index, this is the value, the exact value. So you can add any number. This is add, so it adds, it appends the specific element. Means if you have two elements and use add, it will add the third element. If you have three, it'll add four, and so on, okay? There's other one called add at specific index. If you want to add it to specific location, you need to provide the index, is it 0, 1, 2, 3, and the value you want to change. This is another one called add at specific element. There is called add all. This when you have a list of arrays or another array list and you want to add it inside an array list, then you can use add all. And this will require a collection or an array list to do. There is something called get. Get will get you the value at specific index. I want to know what is the value at the 0 index. And let's do this in our example here. Let's say system.out.println, okay, and we will say now x dot get, and let's say index 0. Okay, now if we run this one, it will add and get us index 0 with 77. If I put index 1, it will get me the value at index 1. Now if I come here and add another one, x add 95, and then I want to index number 2, it will get me index number 2, because dynamically I can add. So let's do this one in a for loop, yeah. So let's say message system dot println system dot out dot println. Let's say enter number of elements. Now I need the user to decide how many elements he want to add and then create a loop to add them all. Okay, let's do this one. Let's delete all this thing here. So I need now the user to do that. I need scanner, isn't it? So let me import scanner. So import Java utility scanner, and here I'll create scanner. Now with the time when you program, you will find things become easy for you later. You can do them very quickly and you know them, but you will do that, okay? So now we're asking for int n. This is the number of elements we want to do. And then we'll have a for loop starting from int I equals 0 to n and increase by 1. And then say system dot out. I'm doing it quickly because I expect now you became very good. Enter the element. No. Let's do what the time is still 10 minutes. Enter a number. Okay, just say a number. Value. Yeah. Value. Okay. This is 1. And then we can say value is that's 1. Now we have the value. Then this one, now we're getting the value. We need to store it in the array. So what we can say now is x dot add value. I'll explain it now. Shabab, you will hate me because okay, so let's come from the beginning. So we created an array. We have a scanner. We're asking the user how many elements you want to add. Okay, so the user now will decide how many elements. He say, for example, n. So we'll have a loop from 0 to less than n. And then every time we'll ask him for the value, he will enter the value. We store the value in the array list. And that's what we're doing. So let's run our code and see. We have an error. Shabab, what is the error we have here? It's, who will find it quickly? Line number 10. Yeah, this is the error. Okay, so let's clean that and run again. Now it's asking how many elements. Let's say I'll say 3 elements. Now it will start asking me for the first element 1, second 3, third 8. Now stopped because I asked for 3 elements. If I wanted to run for more, then I can run and say I need 5 elements. Now it will ask me about 5 elements to enter, and I have to enter 5 elements and store it where? Store it into the array list X to do. Yeah. You can loop now into the array list, and then we can get the data we want. So the array list is a more dynamic, so you can decide from beginning how many elements you want to add, and then you can add the list. Okay, did I confuse you? Say in the chat, yes, you confuse. How does array list manage its internal storage? Yeah, the array list is very effective and efficient in this one. Because what you can do, you can remove elements as well. You can remove element, and I should continue here. We have we saw we get value at certain place. We saw set. Also you have also remove. So you can remove data from specific location or remove data itself. So you want to remove the value. You can clear it. If you want to clear it and make it empty, you just say clear, then it's gone. So the memory becomes free of that one. Instead of length, you have here size. This is size. Yeah. So you need to get the size of the element instead of length. Use size. Size will give you how big is that, how many elements are in the array list. And the other one we use length. This one is if you want to check if it is empty, you say is empty, it will give you true or false. True, it's empty. False is not empty. And the others, there's something called iterations. To returns an iterator over the element. This is for the looping inside the array. We'll do more on the array list next time because I have some examples I want to show you related to the do while. We'll create a menu where, for example, it's registering student and putting their grade and stuff like that. We'll do this, and then we'll go through that in more details. You can convert array list to normal array. This is sometimes useful because the array is lightweight compared to the array list. So you can convert it to an array, and then you can do some processes using just traditional array process. Copilot, by the way, is very good because it will give you explanation, but it also prompt you some questions. So, and that's it. That's it. Then, okay, I like your discussion in the chat. This is very good. Continue those discussions because they make me happy that you now have good confidence in Java and you are discussing things. Okay, any questions before we end for today? Tomorrow will be our last day on Java. The few things we need to do. We will do the do while loops. We will do classes where we create our own class, like student class, course class, and we know how we can use them inside. Believe me, these things will help you, inshallah, when you get to the university. You now have more knowledge about it. It will not be like Chinese for you when you come in. And we covered lots of things in really short time. It needs practice. If you don't practice, you will not learn. watch those videos recording, which we're doing, and sending it to you. And also try to do your own practice, create small code, ask others, create groups of you working together to learn. Practice will make it easy for you to learn. And then hopefully this will be very useful. On Thursday, we don't have Wednesday, we will be moving into Python. Tomorrow I'll be flying, but we'll finish our class, then I'll be traveling. On Thursday, we'll join from another country, but I will be with you during this time, and I hope you are finding it useful. We will send you also a questionnaire just to get your feedback on what we covered. Was it clear? The explanation was good. Communication was good, and so we can improve on the next one, which will be the Python one. But I can see the number of you already familiar with Python, so we'll get more excited. We will do more maybe than what you did before. We'll get into some data analytics, visualization of data, and some useful things. Ivy?
Hi, Doctor. I just want to remind all of the students also to kindly answer the form with which I shared in the chat. And I'll be sending it through email also, just so that we are sure the names that they registered earlier and the emails are all correct, in order for them not to miss out any of the announcements or emails that we are sending. Also, to make sure that the names in the certificates are all correct.
Yes, yeah, this is very important. Thank you, Ivy, for all the support you're doing to the student and to me especially. Okay, thank you, everyone. I can see we have Omar. Sorry, Omar, your hand is up. Please go ahead. We still have 1 minute.
Teacher, I don't think I get anything on email.
Maybe your name was not. Just look at the form that Ivy put in the chat and make sure you add your name there. I think you came through different.
I can't see the link. Is it on like at the top?
It's in the chat. Ivy, can you post it again now?
Doctor, I pinned it already.
On the
the chat.
Send it again on the chat again. Send it one more time, because I think they cannot find it. Here is it. Where is it? Yeah. Okay, here is the link. Let me just paste it for you again here. Here is the link, easy way to do. So just click on this link, Omar, and make sure your data is entered there. This is why you're not getting the information. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a good time. Bye.